Hello everybody, thank you very much for watching this video, and I hope that you're safe and healthy in these difficult circumstances. My name is Neil Cowie and I work for Okayama University, and behind the camera is my co-researcher and partner is Keiko Sakui, who works for Kobe Shoin Women's University. We're going to talk about making videos today, and we have a little bit of experience of doing that. We've made 4 online courses for the Udemy platform, and so I think that we do have a few things that we can share with you. 3 things actually. One is why videos are important. The second thing is how to basically make a video, and thirdly how to make your videos as effective as possible. So let's get to it. Okay, so why are videos important? Well, videos have been used in language teaching for a long time. They're a staple part of many teachers' classroom activities. I remember myself using Mr. Bean from many decades ago now. But in this current emergency online teaching situation, a new type of video is appearing. Made by teachers for students that they have never met or may not even meet in the future. There are various kinds of videos. Recorded lectures have been around for a long time, short instructional videos, and now probably more and more commonly are videos which have some sort of content that the teachers would normally have introduced in the lesson in a face-to-face manner, but are now doing so on a video. So why use a video? Well, regarding the lesson content, from the student's point of view, they can watch a video at any time on any kind of device that they have, and when they're watching they can stop, they can pause, they can rewind. So from the student's point of view they can engage with the material as many times as they like. During this kind of emergency situation, from the teacher's point of view, videos are of course a substitute for face-to-face activity, and this can help make the students feel engaged with their teacher. They can be less isolated, and the teacher can show how personal they are and personable, and in fact they can also be a role model for the students to make their own videos, because of course students themselves have got very little options or opportunities to interact. So if you're encouraging your students to make videos as part of a speaking presentation practice, then the teachers can be a role model. So in sum, videos are a great way to show your presence as a teacher, which is an incredibly important thing to do at the moment. So how can we make videos? There are lots of ways to make videos. In the past you probably would have needed a nice video camera, and then maybe that would go on top of a tripod, and also you might have needed to use a microphone. So this is called a snowball. This is what Keiko and I use when we want to have really good quality audio. And of course nowadays you can even have a green screen. This is our green screen. It's just fabric. It didn't cost a lot. I can't remember exactly, maybe 4,000 or 5,000 yen for several meters of green felt, and you just stick it on your wall and that can become a green screen. So those are all, if you like, more traditional ways to make videos, but more and more all you need nowadays is of course your phone. So that is what I would highly recommend. And also, if you have a computer, which most teachers do, then some form of screencasting is a very, very good way to make videos nowadays. And I'll talk about that a little bit more in a minute. So once you've shot your video with your camera or with a smartphone, what you need to do next is to edit it. And this has become incredibly easy in recent years. There are lots and lots of free apps. If you have a Mac, like I do, there's iMovie, is free with a Mac, either on a laptop or a tablet, or even on your phone as well. You can get a free editing app. If you use a Windows machine, again free, installed with Windows, is Movie Maker, which is another very good editing tool. If you want to encourage your students to edit, they can find many apps. A recent one, which is from Adobe, is called Spark, and that's a great tool, and the app version is free as well. So once you've edited your video, you don't have to be very sophisticated, but you may want to put a little bit of text on the screen, as I have done. You've seen text moving up and down or appearing. You can do that very easily with editing tools. Once you've finished your video, you need to store it somewhere and then share that link with your students. There's lots of different ways to store videos. YouTube is an obvious example. If you have OneDrive or Google Drive, those are other, or Dropbox, those are other ways that you can store your video and create a link and then share that with your students. Recently there are inbuilt video making apps for teachers. Two that I really like are Video Thread and Flipgrid. I've used Flipgrid a lot recently with my students, and when I'll show you the screencasting options, I'll show you some examples of Flipgrid videos. I mentioned earlier that screencasting or screen recording is a very easy way to make a video nowadays. I'm actually recording my screen at the moment, and I'll use my cursor just to point out different things to you. So there are a number of screencasting applications that you can use. This one is called Camtasia. This is a paid version, and it's probably the most common paid application you can find. Free versions include Screencast-O-Matic and Jing, which I don't have a picture of here. They're very nice, very easy to use. And then a lot of you are probably using Zoom at the moment for video conferencing. But what you can do is just video conference yourself and record your meeting and then share your screen, and then you can share your screen, and that makes a video too. And then here, QuickTime Player, if you're familiar with Mac computers, is you can use your inbuilt screen recording device on a Mac, and there is also the same thing on a Windows. So lots of different applications, paid and free and built into your device, that you can use for screen recording. I mentioned earlier an application called Flipgrid, and I'm just screen recording some PowerPoint shots of my Flipgrid site. It's a Microsoft site, as you can see here, and up here is my name, and then here is my video where I introduce myself to my students, and then the students using their smartphone or their laptop, they just press on this big green button and then they can make their own videos, and you can see here there's a few. I've covered up their faces, and if we go to the next one, you can see I've got four videos here that I made in April. One for the speaking class, and then a presentation class, and here's the topics: self-introduction, hobbies, and here's the number of views so far. Well, actually, for that first class on Monday, there's now over 2,000 views just in a couple of weeks. Students are obviously desperate to look at each other's videos. So once students made a video, and as a teacher, you can give a rubric, or you can give comments and then email that feedback to your students. It's an excellent application, and I highly recommend it. Okay, so far we've talked about two things: why videos are a good idea, and showed you various ways that you can make them. In this final section of the presentation, I'd like to talk about making your videos a little bit more effective. As we're discussing emergency online teaching, I'm not talking about really slick videos with really high production values, but research has shown that there are various features that will make your videos more effective if you follow these features. And by effective, what I mean by that is that students will want to continue to watch your video and they will learn from them. So if you can retain the interest and motivation of your students, this is a really good thing to try and encourage. So there are a number of rules of thumb that will help you to do this, and I'll go through them one by one. There is a lot of research about how to present information in the best way for learning, and this is a big area, but I'll just go over a few of the more common concepts that we've tried to put into our videos. So the probably most important one is a concept called cognitive overload, and that is you don't want to overwhelm the viewer or your students with a lot of information that they can't take in. So there's several points to consider. The first one is the overall length of a video. Of course, this will depend on the student's motivation and how interesting your material is. But a rule of thumb is that around about 6 minutes or less is a good length to divide your information into manageable chunks. Now, of course, you might think that 6 minutes is too short for the kind of video that you want to make, and in fact this video itself is a good example of a video that's much longer than 6 minutes. So what you can do, a few kind of tricks on the way to break up the video. So one of those is to ask the students to pause perhaps and think about a question that you've given them, or give them some sort of task and then come back to the video. But the principle is basically to not make your video excerpts too long so that students are overloaded with information. Okay, secondly, in order to decrease cognitive load, it's good if you're making a series of videos to have a consistent style. This is similar to the classroom, when probably most teachers will adopt a similar format for each lesson so that students get used to what they're supposed to do in the classroom. They don't have wildly different lessons every week in which they're a little bit confused or worried or anxious about what they should do. The same principle applies to videos. If you can have a consistent way of presenting your videos, then students will have less information to process and can really concentrate on the new things that you come up with. Thirdly, it's good, of course, to get your image, your visual image, as good as possible, but it's even more important to make sure that your students can hear you well. And research shows that viewers are quite tolerant of a poor image, but they're not so tolerant of poor audio if they can't hear it very well. So of course that includes your speaking voice, so you need to make sure that your voice is as clear as possible and that you're going at an appropriate speed for your listeners to understand what you're talking about. Well, I'm on the topic of speaking, and I made a little mistake just there, but I haven't edited it out of the video, and this is another important point, is to try and be as natural as possible. And if you include false starts or little mistakes or repetitions, that's not something to worry about too much. These are normal parts of conversation, and you will appear natural to your students. It also saves time in that you don't have to edit every little problem out of your video. Finally, it's good when you make a video if you can support it with other resources, perhaps a script of what you say. Maybe just at the bottom here you can add subtitles, that's very possible nowadays, or some other kind of learning materials that students can download at the same time as they watch your video. It's also good not to mix text and talk too much on the video. As I mentioned earlier, for this video there are some text that come up, but not too many, so that it overloads students or viewers. So a nice combination of your visual images plus text, but not too much. A few keywords at the right time is probably a good rule of thumb. Thank you very much. If you've managed to continue watching until the end, I really appreciate your attention. Keiko and myself today have tried to talk about three things. One is to justify why, especially in the emergency situation we're in now, why videos are an important resource for teachers to try and create and share with their students. Secondly, we just very quickly covered a few basic ways in which you can make videos. It's become incredibly easy nowadays with technology. Video making is available to everybody, and I'd really encourage you to make videos and encourage your students to do that as well. It's a great way to interact. And finally, I talked about a few rules of thumb to make your videos more effective, and I hope I followed those rules of thumb and that this video itself is easy to understand and easy to follow. I'm not entirely sure what will happen next about the question and answer session. It might be that you'll see Keiko and myself live in a few seconds. I'm going to finish with our email addresses, so if you have any questions or comments, please get in touch. We'd be delighted to hear from you. So stay safe, stay healthy, and thanks very much for watching.